Chancellor Olaf Scholz of Germany has sharply rebuked U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance's comments at the Munich Security Conference, escalating tensions between Germany, the European Union, and a key ally. During his speech, Vance accused European leaders of stifling free speech and ignoring public concerns over migration. "There's a new sheriff in town," Vance proclaimed, signaling a more confrontational stance by the Trump administration regarding European policies. He openly criticized European leadership on issues such as migration, security, and trade, warning that the U.S. would no longer accept policies that, in his view, disregarded the will of the people. Scholz firmly rejected these claims, making his stance clear. "I categorically reject what U.S. Vice President Vance said at the Munich Security Conference," Scholz declared in a post on X. He highlighted Germany's historical obligation to combat far-right extremism, drawing comparisons to the Nazi era. The notion of a political firewall against the far right, a principle upheld by Germany's mainstream democratic parties to prevent collaboration with the Alternative for Germany, AfD party, was a key aspect of his response. Vance's remarks, along with his decision to meet AfD leader Alice Weidel while in Munich, were met with widespread condemnation from German officials, who viewed the move as unwarranted interference in Germany's internal affairs. However, Weidel welcomed Vance's stance, describing his speech as excellent on social media. Beyond political discord, transatlantic relations have also been strained by the resurgence of Trump-era protectionist trade policies. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen voiced concerns about the potential fragmentation of the global economy in response to President Donald Trump's renewed threats of tariffs on European imports. "We must avoid a destructive trade war that would harm businesses and workers on both sides of the Atlantic," von der Leyen cautioned, stressing the importance of maintaining economic cooperation despite political friction. In reaction to Washington's imposition of tariffs on European steel and aluminum, the European Commission announced its intention to take decisive action. The EU considers these measures unjustified and is exploring countermeasures, including tariffs on well-known American exports such as bourbon whiskey, jeans, and motorcycles. Germany's trade surplus with the U.S. has also come under scrutiny. In 2023, German exports to the U.S. totaled approximately 165 billion euros, driven largely by demand for automobiles, pharmaceuticals, and industrial machinery. Meanwhile, U.S. exports to Germany amounted to 77 billion euros, with key products including aircraft, chemicals, and energy resources. By 2024, the trade surplus had widened further, reaching 70 billion euros despite a minor decline in total exports. German exports to the U.S. increased to 61.3 billion euros, reflecting a 2.2% rise, particularly in high-tech manufacturing and luxury automotive sales. In contrast, U.S. exports to Germany fell to 91.4 billion euros due to reduced shipments of agricultural goods and industrial components. This ongoing trade imbalance has drawn criticism from the U.S. government, with both the Biden administration and now the returning Trump administration considering tariffs and other trade measures to address the deficit. The issue remains a key point of contention in transatlantic economic relations, with ongoing negotiations about potential policy changes and retaliatory measures. Recent developments have underscored a deepening divide. In February 2025, President Trump announced the launch of peace negotiations with Russian President Vladimir Putin, aiming to resolve the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. This decision was made without prior consultation with European allies, effectively sidelining the EU from the process. Special Envoy Keith Kellogg confirmed that while European nations would be kept informed, they would not have direct involvement in the discussions. He emphasized a pragmatic approach, suggesting that Europe should contribute by offering concrete proposals and increasing defense spending. European leaders have expressed deep concern over their exclusion from the negotiations. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot stated, "There will be no just and lasting peace in Ukraine without European participation." Similarly, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky emphasized that Ukraine would not accept any agreements made without its direct involvement, reinforcing the necessity of their participation in peace talks. The U.S. has proposed major concessions, including the possibility of Ukraine relinquishing certain territories and abandoning its NATO membership aspirations. This proposal has faced sharp criticism from European officials, who fear it could set a dangerous precedent and compromise Ukraine's sovereignty. The exclusion of European nations from these pivotal discussions has not only strained transatlantic relations, but has also raised concerns about the future security landscape of Europe, Even before Trump's return to office, political instability within major EU states had been growing, driven by soaring energy prices, declining industrial output, and shifting global trade dynamics. The EU's dependence on imported energy has raised production costs, reducing its global competitiveness. Industrial output has declined in key economies such as Germany and France, while trade imbalances, particularly with China and the US, have further weakened the bloc's market position. Political instability in several EU member states has delayed economic reforms, exacerbating the crisis. Meanwhile, tensions with the US have intensified under President Trump, who has criticized EU trade policies, threatened tariffs, and pressured Europe to increase purchases of American energy. While European leaders have expressed concerns, they have also signaled a willingness to negotiate while standing firm on core economic principles. Germany, the EU's largest economy, has faced growing economic challenges. Historically reliant on affordable Russian gas to power its industries, Germany now struggles to secure alternative energy sources while coping with soaring energy costs. Despite significant investments in renewable energy, periods of low wind and reduced sunlight during winter have considerably reduced renewable output, exacerbating the energy shortfall. These conditions have intensified pre-existing economic vulnerabilities, pushing Germany toward recession. In this climate of uncertainty, political dynamics are shifting. The far-right AfD has gained traction by advocating for policies such as leaving the EU, abandoning the euro, re-establishing ties with Russia, and resuming Russian gas imports, appealing to voters eager for quick solutions to economic hardships. The prospect of Germany leaving the EU raises critical questions. Should Germany make such a decision, the repercussions would be profound. As the cornerstone of the EU's economic structure, its departure would likely destabilize the Union, weaken the single market, and undermine the common currency. This move could trigger financial instability, disrupt trade relationships, and diminish the EU's global influence. The implications of such a shift would be significant, not just for Germany, but for Europe as a whole. The current energy crisis, economic instability, and shifting political tides have brought Germany to a critical juncture. Understanding the origins of these challenges and their potential consequences is essential in assessing the path forward. The interplay between energy policy, economic stability, and political transformation will shape the future of Germany and its role in Europe. Germany's post-World War II success has long been attributed to its strong industrial foundation and export-driven economy. However, mounting pressures, both internal and external, now pose serious questions about its long-term economic resilience and the stability of the European Union. Germany has played a central role in shaping the European Union's economic policies, with its strong manufacturing sector, particularly in automobiles, machinery, and chemicals, serving as a key driver of GDP and reinforcing its position as a leading exporter. Since the post-World War II era, Germany's dedication to European integration has been evident, as it was a founding member of the EU and an architect of the European Monetary Union. It was instrumental in the creation of a single market that allowed for the seamless movement of goods, services, capital, and labor, a strategy that benefited its export-driven economy. The introduction of the euro further strengthened trade within the bloc by providing a stable currency framework. However, in recent years, Germany's once thriving economy has faced significant setbacks. By the final quarter of 2024, key industries that had traditionally sustained economic growth began to decline. This marked a stark reversal from the labor market boom that spanned from 2005 to 2019, which had once positioned Germany as a pillar of economic strength in Europe. By 2023, the country had become the worst-performing major economy globally, contracting by 0.3% and hovering on the brink of recession by 2024. The downturn triggered a sharp increase in corporate bankruptcies, with 4,215 businesses filing for insolvency in the final quarter of 2024 alone, the highest level recorded since 2009, impacting nearly 38,000 jobs. This represented a 36% rise compared to the previous year, with the services sector experiencing a 47% increase in insolvencies, and the manufacturing sector seeing a 32% rise. The economic strain has been particularly severe for Germany's Mittelstand, the small and medium-sized enterprises that are considered the backbone of the nation's economy. These companies have struggled with declining orders and structural difficulties, including high labor costs and regulatory burdens, during Germany's longest recession in decades. Even large industrial corporations have not been spared. The automobile sector, which was once the epitome of German engineering prowess, has been grappling with lingering scandals and a sluggish transition to electric vehicles, mirroring broader economic challenges. The political landscape was further destabilized in November 2024 when the coalition government led by Chancellor Olaf Scholz collapsed following the dismissal of Finance Minister Christian Lindner of the Free Democratic Party, FDP. This dramatic development, fueled by escalating conflicts within the coalition, comprising the Social Democratic Party, SPD, the Greens, and the FDP, led to the FDP withdrawing from the alliance, leaving Scholz to govern with a minority administration. In the aftermath of the coalition's dissolution, Scholz called for a vote of confidence in the Bundestag on December 16, 2024. However, the motion failed, receiving only 207 votes in favor against 394 opposed, falling far short of the required 367 majority. This defeat underscored the government's inability to maintain parliamentary support, paving the way for early federal elections. Consequently, President Frank-Walter Steinmeier dissolved the Bundestag and scheduled snap elections for February 23, 2025, in an attempt to restore political stability amid pressing national challenges, including economic recovery and immigration policy. Amid these political and economic upheavals, billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk has emerged as a controversial figure in German politics. Known for his close ties to President Donald Trump, Musk has openly supported the far-right Alternative for Germany, AfD party. In December 2024, he took to X, formerly Twitter, to declare, "Only the AfD can save Germany," signaling his endorsement of the party's agenda. His backing has sparked intense debate both domestically and internationally. Some analysts argue that his support could lend the AfD greater legitimacy, potentially swaying undecided voters who may have previously hesitated to support a far-right party. The AfD leadership capitalized on this endorsement, with Musk even hosting a live-stream discussion with party leader Alice Weidel on X, amplifying their message in the lead-up to the national elections. However, Musk's involvement has also drawn fierce criticism. German government officials have accused him of attempting to meddle in the country's democratic process, with Deputy Chancellor Robert Habeck condemning his actions as a direct assault on our democracy and cautioning against foreign interference in domestic affairs. While Musk's support may resonate with a segment of voters, reputable polling agencies suggest it is unlikely to drastically alter the AfD's electoral prospects in the February 2025 elections. The AfD's economic platform has also fueled controversy. Among its most radical proposals is a call for Germany to exit the EU and abandon the euro in favor of reintroducing a national currency. The party's draft manifesto states, "We believe it is essential for Germany to leave the European Union and establish a new European alliance, while condemning ongoing financial bailouts and advocating for the reinstatement of a sovereign monetary system." Dubbed the Blue Deal, the AfD's economic agenda includes extensive tax reductions aimed at stimulating growth. The party's proposals include slashing the corporate tax rate from 15% to 10%, abolishing trade taxes, and cutting the value-added tax, VAT, from 19% to 15%. These measures are projected to reduce the tax burden by approximately 279 billion euros, equivalent to 8.6% of Germany's GDP, and are estimated to boost economic growth by 6% by 2025. However, critics argue that such drastic tax cuts could lead to severe budget deficits, potentially jeopardizing the government's ability to fund public services and infrastructure. Additionally, the party's hardline stance on immigration, including proposals for large-scale deportations under a so-called remigration policy, has raised concerns about labor shortages in key industries that rely heavily on immigrant workers. Beyond its economic and immigration policies, the AfD has drawn criticism for its broader ideological agenda. The party's call for Germany to withdraw from the Paris Climate Agreement, citing excessive economic costs, has alarmed environmental groups and policymakers. The AfD also advocates for lifting sanctions on Russian natural gas imports, signaling a stark policy reversal. In Saxony, the party has proposed stringent regulations that would effectively halt the expansion of wind energy infrastructure, a move that contradicts Germany's long-standing commitment to renewable energy development. These policy shifts represent a dramatic departure from the principles that have shaped Germany's political and economic integration into Europe for decades. Given Germany's status as the EU's largest economy, a potential departure from the bloc, referred to as Dexit, could have far-reaching consequences. Economists warn that such a move could shrink Germany's economic output by approximately 10%, translating to an annual loss of 400 billion euros to 500 billion euros. The broader ramifications for the EU would be equally severe, as a weakened Germany could undermine the bloc's economic stability, potentially triggering a prolonged period of stagnation across the continent. The AfD has also drawn controversy for its provocative actions. One particularly inflammatory incident occurred when the party's Karlsruhe branch distributed 30,000 flyers resembling boarding passes labeled workplace deportation tickets, calling for the expulsion of illegal immigrants. This campaign sparked a criminal investigation for incitement to hatred. Additionally, the AfD's manifesto has been criticized for its revisionist rhetoric on historical events. In January 2025, during a live-stream discussion between AfD leader Alice Weidel and Elon Musk, both figures promoted the widely debunked claim that Adolf Hitler was a communist. The statement was condemned for its historical inaccuracy and for trivializing the atrocities committed by the Nazi regime. Germany's economic decline can be traced back to the early 2000s, when structural inefficiencies and rigid labor policies contributed to persistently high unemployment rates, often exceeding 10%. These conditions led to Germany being labeled the sick man of Europe. This period was marked by deep-seated inefficiencies in the labor market, rigid regulations, and a lack of competitiveness in key industries. Under Chancellor Gerhard Schröder, the government launched the Agenda 2010 reforms, a series of initiatives aimed at liberalizing the labor market, reducing welfare benefits, and encouraging employment. Among these, the controversial Hartz reforms played a significant role in restructuring unemployment benefits while promoting part-time and low-wage jobs. While these policies provided a temporary boost to economic growth, they also laid the foundation for persistent issues such as income inequality and job insecurity, ultimately contributing to long-term economic instability. Germany's resilience during the 2008 financial crisis was largely attributed to its strong export-driven economy. Despite experiencing a sharp GDP contraction during the crisis, the country staged a rapid recovery, fueled by strong demand for its high-quality industrial goods, particularly in the automotive and machinery sectors. By 2011, German exports had surpassed 1 trillion euros, underscoring the nation's reliance on international markets. However, this dependency also made the economy highly susceptible to global economic fluctuations. Any downturn in major trading partners such as China, the United States, or emerging markets had immediate and adverse consequences for German industries. Moreover, the emphasis on exports came at the expense of domestic consumption, which weakened the country's ability to absorb internal economic shocks and limited its overall diversification. The decline of Germany's economic standing became particularly pronounced in recent years, as external and internal pressures mounted. The war in Ukraine severely disrupted the nation's energy supply, given that approximately 55% of its natural gas imports had previously come from Russia. As a result, energy costs surged, leading to production slowdowns across key industries, including automotive manufacturing and chemicals. Additionally, persistent supply chain disruptions further compounded these economic difficulties. Demographic shifts have only exacerbated these challenges. An aging population has led to a shrinking workforce, escalating social welfare expenses, and acute labor shortages, particularly in sectors reliant on skilled and semi-skilled workers. Inefficiencies in immigration policies have failed to counteract these issues, while chronic underinvestment in infrastructure and research has stifled innovation. Germany's sluggish progress in digitalization and green technologies, especially compared to other global economic leaders, underscores broader stagnation in its industrial evolution. Economic indicators provide a bleak outlook. In 2023, Germany's GDP shrank by 0.3%, with forecasts anticipating an additional 0.2% contraction in 2024. These consecutive years of economic decline highlight deep-rooted structural problems and growing external pressures. Industrial production, long considered the backbone of Germany's economic success, has steadily weakened. Even the automotive industry, once synonymous with German engineering excellence, has struggled to adapt to the global shift toward electric vehicles and automation. Leading manufacturers such as Volkswagen have announced significant job cuts and plant closures as they contend with fierce international competition and the challenges of transitioning to new technologies. Germany's economic troubles have broader consequences for the European Union. As the EU's largest economy and a key financial contributor, a struggling Germany weakens the entire economic structure of the bloc. Countries that rely on German trade and investment are feeling the ripple effects, and the EU's overall economic momentum has suffered as a result. These difficulties have sparked heated debates within the Union, with some advocating for Germany to implement more flexible fiscal policies to stimulate economic growth, rather than adhering strictly to its debt rules. Critics argue that Germany's deep-rooted commitment to fiscal conservatism has, in the past, restricted the EU's ability to respond effectively to financial crises, limiting its capacity for swift economic intervention. That concludes today's discussion. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you found this content informative or thought-provoking, we'd appreciate your support. Liking this video and subscribing to our channel helps us grow and continue delivering high-quality content. Stay connected with us, and feel free to check out another video on our channel, now appearing on your screen.